are live.
Okay. Please now call to order. We will have roll call. Mr. Hirsch. Here. Mr. Landwehr.
I am here.
Mrs. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Glanick. Here. Mr. Cowley.
Here.
Ms. Brunette.
Here.
And I am obviously here. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The agenda was posted throughout the district according to the school board policy, published as a legal ad in the Superior Telegram, posted on the district webpage, and sent to the WNXR radio station for announcement. The meeting notice was sent to the connection for publication. I will entertain a motion for approval of tonight's August 14th, 2023 agenda, the open and executive sessions.
I make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4, we have the consent agenda, which includes the July 17th, 2023 regular board meeting minutes and the July 25th, 2023 special meeting minutes. And we have the treasurer's report and Mr. Landwehr.
A summary of the treasurer's report as of July 31st, 2023, general fund. General account on July 31, 2023, there was a balance of $1,991,440.63 in cash and investments in receipts since the 1st of August and not included in the July 31 balance are $38,548.16. And the disbursements from tonight's August 14th board meeting total $91,621.12. In the flexible spending account on July 31, 2023, there was a balance of $23,948.46 in cash and investments. The health reimbursement account on July 31, 2023, there was a balance of $9,411.25 in cash and investments. In the debt service fund on July 31, 2023, there was a balance of $673.56 in cash and investments, and a more detailed report on fund activity is included for your review in the financial statements.
Thank you. Payment of invoices. Everyone has had a chance to receive those ahead of time. Contact Mr. Pescatore if you have any questions. So, then there's resignations / employment / leave of absence. Mr. Morris.
Yeah, as you can see, we had Abigail Kelleher, a reading parent educator at the NES. We had Brittany Russ, special education teacher at Northwestern High School, and then Dustin Anderson, our student transition coordinator at Northwestern High School, have all resigned. We're sad to see them leave. And we do have some new employees, though. We did hire, we're looking to hire Joshua Dumke and Mr. Carlson. You've got a memo from Mr. Carlson on him for our tech ed teacher at the high school. We've got Louis Livingood, who will be our new custodian at the high school. Note that Dale Lundgren, our high school custodian, has requested a transfer to NES. Jeanette Coleman is going to be a new bus driver from the Hawthorne area, and Amber Chambers is another bus driver from the Hawthorne area, contingent on completion of her training and receiving her CDL and with the SCP endorsements. We also have a leave of absence request. Penny Lavin has requested a 1-year leave of absence from the Iron River Elementary School admin assistant, who was transferred from the district office. We've let her know that if she was to return, she needs to let the district office know by March 1st. But that's what we're looking for that, and we're recommending to approve all these.
Question: Jeanette Coleman, bus driver for the Hawthorne area, is she already licensed?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
Correct. Yep. She was a substitute driver for us for a while. Awesome.
We're still short bus drivers.
As of today, knock on wood, we are fully staffed with our daily routes.
Yes. Did we still do a contracted sub. Is that you, right? We continue that. And that's Phil, correct?
Yes. Yep, so as of today, we're looking for subs, as everybody is, so if you have anybody that's interested in sub bus driving, we would train them, or that would pay them for that process, but,
No.
we would definitely entertain anybody looking to potentially come to the sub pool, and usually what those subs grow into is relative positions.
For the most part, they like to,
Yep, but as of today, we're fully staffed in the transportation department.
that's awesome.
It's gonna stay that way for the rest of the year.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Well,
As special ed.
Mr. Moore?
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. We did also have a transfer. Chad Gradine is gonna be transferring to the high school as a special ed teacher.
Chad Gradine?
Gradine, yeah. And then we have the other one,
Mr. Nicholson's going to.
and Mr. Nichols is going down to NES.
The middle school.
The middle school, sorry, the middle school.
Didn't Chad request a leave of absence till December because he was gonna finish school? Did he get that done
Well,
early?
here's what his school
Or
that
Mr.
he's
Gradine, I should say.
his school that he's getting his degree at said that he can use, if he was to acquire a teaching position, he could do a student teaching in that spot. So he's going to be doing congruent with the hiring. So
Okay.
it's kind of killing two birds with one stone, which is great.
Cool beans.
At least I think it is. I'm glad schools are being a little more flexible now with that student teaching aspect of that. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any other questions regarding the designation of employment leave of absence portion of the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the entire consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion over here. Second. Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Approval items. The item number 5, make sure I read it right here. Item number 5, building construction house bids. We do have 3 bids. I don't hear any cheering.
Sigh of relief.
Sigh of relief. So we're gonna do the chronological order of when we receive them. We receive this one first. And as a requirement, they are required to have a certified check in the amount of 10% of the bid price and a letter from a financial institution stating that the bidder has been pre-approved for their bid dollar amount. Or they could have the whole amount in there too. if they want, so. Okay, we have a bid of, I guess we give the name, right?
Yep.
Eric and Rebecca Anderson. They bid $45,000, and there is a certified, a cashier's check for $4,500. Eric and Rebecca, 45,000 Anderson. Well, they can write them that this. Okay, that's one. Keep that in mind. Second one received. Okay. This is working too good. Now it's a little better. It'll come on. Bid number 2 is from Rodney Nelson, Superior. Bid amount $41,600. And he has a cashier's check for 10% and a copy of his bank statement. I don't know what exactly what it is. Looks like it is. It shows balance. That was $41,000. And number 3 rural Wisconsin. Also for district. Okay. John Schrock and Mary Burby, the bid for the construction is $41,500, and there is a check for $4,150, 10%. So I don't see the bank thing, but I guess it doesn't matter because can you read the bids?
Sure will.
Yeah.
Eric and Rebecca Anderson for $45,000 even, Rodney Nelson for $41,600, and Mary Burby and John, was it
Schrock.
Schrock, $41,500.
Yes.
There we go. Good run.
So the winners are Eric and Rebecca Anderson.
We'll notify them this evening.
It's great.
They have someone here that knows them. It's awesome for getting a good house.
We're excited to find a home for that home.
Okay, now, it's not over yet.
We
Need
need
a
a
motion. Motion to accept that bid.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Mr. Hirsch,
Eric and Rebecca Anderson.
second.
Mr. Cowley seconds. And all those in favor say aye.
I think it's money.
It's a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, okay. Mr. Hirsch.
Yes.
Mr. Landwehr.
Yes.
Ms. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Raddick.
Yes.
Mr. Cowley.
Yes.
Ms. Burnett.
Yes.
For the record, all vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And they'll be notified and answer if you have any questions.
Yep.
So, item 5B, District Academic Career Planning.
So, your academic and career plan, the ACP, is part of the Wisconsin Education Employment Program, outlined in Wisconsin State Statute 121.021M, which refers to it's something that's required by the state to have a ACP E4E plan on what your kids can do if they have different pathways and they're looking at different things. Mr. Carlson, I'm going to refer to him for a minute, but he's been working on this with DPI and actually in CC12, to start working on our plan, and we're going to be pushing forward a little bit through the year to kind of put things into place. Now, I just did this in Florence a year and a half ago. We started setting this up, so this is it's a process, but it's a good process for our kids. So, is there anything I didn't elaborate on?
Like Mr. Warren said, we're going to put together, there's a thing we have to do an assessment, which will be put together this fall, and then this is some goals based on that assessment. But we'll be going through that process this fall and have that completed this year. Put fully into action.
And as I was reading this, I was pretty excited. It's something they didn't have years ago when you had dual credits. Get them right here in school, advance the AP classes, dual credits with Northwood Tech and UWS. I think it's something you start the kids early too, planning process.
It's something that can save a lot of these kids money, if they can get the dual credits and take care of some of these things going into what they want to go into for college and that right when they're doing high school. I think it's great.
I think it's great. So we need to accept the plan. We need a motion, second. Passage, or I'll entertain a motion to approve that plan.
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a motion, Mr. Burnett. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mrs. Olson. Any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the handbooks. We have handbooks for student handbooks, teachers, special ed, core and extracurricular, and employee handbooks.
Yep, so the first one, you had the, you said the student, teacher, special education, co-curricular employee, et cetera. You had these on USB drive for you to review. We're looking to approve all these. So we're just throwing it back to you if there's any questions anybody has before we look at that. So.
Is there any questions?
The ones on the USB drive? Yes. Or any of them?
USB drive.
Yeah, the USB drive.
Any of these employee handbook, core and extracurricular, special ed, teacher handbook, student handbook?
The only question I have is, as we roll out these handbooks to everybody, is there any kind of feedback that's required? I mean, do they have to check the box if they read the handbook or anything? What does that feedback look like?
Well, I think, they sign off on them that they've, read the handbook and that, and then they turn it in, I believe,
So there's some sort of communication that suggests them to actually pay attention to these changes.
Because if they didn't, and if something came up, they said, well, did you, you can refer back to your handbook at page 35 or something like that, and there it is. So, but that's what.
At the high school level, they actually, during their advisement time, they take about a couple days and they go through.
Yeah,
the
there's a
major
lot there.
changes. Any changes and the major rules to follow, so.
Sure.
And we do have an acknowledgement form that the kids sign and turn in, so if you want to say that if anything comes down the line, and if the students say, well, I didn't know that, pull out that acknowledgement form, say, well, you signed that you did have a chance to read it and whatever, so.
I think all these handbooks, the people involved with them should be commended because a lot of work has gone into these handbooks. I mean, we just come here and say, oh yeah, that's good. But a lot of work has gone into it. Maybe not, some of the things were settled the year before, so there's a lot of effort put in. Not just recording, but all the decisions that we need. Mr. Lambert.
I'm not sure how to say this. Do we have the ability to make a change to these throughout the year? And the only reason I say that, and I didn't think of it until just now, and if this needs to be a closed private conversation, just tell me that. But there was, last year at the end of school, there was a student in the high school who was not able to walk. Still able to graduate, but wasn't able to walk across the stage because of the way, and I'm not sure it was in here, I think it was because I had looked into it. You and I had talked about this. About something that had happened in fourth quarter. And if something happened in fourth quarter, you're not able to walk, which I think you know what I'm talking about. So, I'm really trying to dance around this a little bit. My two bits is, why is that particular offense, any one of those particular offenses that are highlighted for fourth quarter that would negate you from walking, but third quarter, you're okay. Second quarter, you're okay. First quarter, you're okay. You can do the exact same offense in the first three quarters and still walk, but if it happens in the fourth quarter, you're not. So I guess I'm all for discipline. I'm all for equality, but it doesn't seem to be equal and equitable at the same time, having first, second, third quarter okay and fourth quarter not.
Can I quickly respond?
You may.
Yes, it's not a closed session item. You're not
Okay.
talking about a particular student. This is exactly where this should be.
Okay, and I'm sorry for not bringing this up sooner, because I just remembered this.
We have, we developed what we call our senior rules.
Yep.
That are above and beyond the normal student rules. rules, and we put those in place because historically, it's difficult to keep some of our seniors on task during the last part of the year. Whether it's attendance, whether it's behavior, finishing classes on time. And so as part of that, in this, the situation is, if a student is suspended from school during the fourth quarter of their senior year, that they are not able to walk. So it wasn't the offense, the fact that the student was suspended.
But the offense led to the suspension is what I'm saying.
So students who had that same type of offense other times during the year would have had the same consequence. It's just a matter that during the fourth quarter for seniors, if you have that consequence, regardless of the reason, if you have that consequence of being suspended, that makes you ineligible for commencement.
And I guess to play devil's advocate to that, you could have, well, and I can't find that senior rules. Like I remember, I got a copy of it at the end of last year, but I want to say it was, I think one of those things is if you got a vape, as an example, which requires, I believe, a 2 or 3 day suspension, regardless of when it happens throughout the course of the year. So if that happens on the last day of the third quarter, which is a Thursday, and Monday is the first day of the fourth quarter, and it happens on Monday, you're hosed from walking. I'm just saying that's from a parent's perspective. Going 2 days earlier, I'd have been just fine. I'm not saying any of that's okay. That's not, and I'm all for the suspension. I'm all for the punishment to the crime. I'm not sure I understand why, if you can have that happen first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, 3 times, and then fourth quarter you happen to just keep your nose clean for 6 weeks, you can walk across the stage. That's okay. You see what I'm saying? And that's the only reason I'm bringing this up, because it doesn't seem quite equitable.
I guess one way that you, like with any type of a rule or consequence, you have to draw a line somewhere. And as we were putting this together, and again, historically, over our years of experience, it's usually that last 9 weeks where seniors tend to really kind of push the envelope. So that's why we identified the last quarter, fourth quarter. We very easily could have said the last 2 terms that we would have the same consequence. But we chose to really focus on when the seniors really need to focus and buckle down. It's that last 9 weeks. And that was the line we drew as far as from this point forward. Then this consequence will result in this.
Well, I think the key is that the student knows the rules and knows what the consequences of the rules are. And I did ask that, I can't remember who I asked him to, when that situation occurred last year. And it was relayed to me that the students do know what the rules are.
They do.
That's the key to me.
And I think parents do, because you have to end up submitting it back to them. I get it. I guess my thing is, if you get caught with the heater the second day of school, you're done. Too bad, so sad.
And granted, those aren't fun decisions to make. But again, that whole list of things we put in place, those were things that, again, historically, we have noticed. Those are the issues that the seniors getting senioritis, and towards the end, that's when they really start to kind of push the limits a little bit. The whole idea is not to punish kids, but to help keep them in mind. And that's really the goal, saying, listen, we want you to finish successfully, we want you to finish the year, we want you to graduate, we want you to walk. Let us help you by having these things in place, so that they're not doing those types of behaviors that are going to get them suspended, or they are skipping out of school and not coming to school, missing class time, which could then, if you see this happen, fail classes, and then not be able to graduate at all, and even get the diploma, because they haven't gotten the credits. So all those things that we have part of the senior rules are designed to help the kids stay focused for the last 9 weeks, so they can finish successfully.
When do they get the senior rules? Like the first
From
day,
the beginning of the year,
so like maybe like halfway through should be a reminder or something. Like
and
just-
I do. In my
Okay,
packet laws, I would say probably 2 or 3 times throughout the year, it's like, just one more time, one more reminder.
I have asked
Always,
people
and
that-
always before the fourth quarter,
Okay.
making sure that,
Kind of when that was going on, I asked kids that already graduated, do you remember the senior rules? And they do, so they must be aware of them, so.
and that's one of the things that, at the beginning of the year, like Mr. Collins said during our advisory time during the first week, really stressed with teachers who have seniors in advisory, make sure you cover the senior rules.
Thank you. I think the original question was, can these rules can these handbooks be reviewed during the year?
Right.
And I think the answer is
Yes, I
yes.
believe they can, yes, it can be amended. If something is going down a dirt road and we need to pour back in, we can make an adjustment and make an amendment to the rules. It just has to be, it's gotta be everybody, and it's gotta be, we let the parents know that, hey, we're making this change to this rule, this is why, and then move forward.
Now, my question is, did you ask that before we voted or after? Did we vote on it?
I think it was after.
We didn't vote because it was just discussion.
Okay.
It was a.
Okay, any other discussion?
So I'd like to make an observation, and if I'm not correct, somebody please correct me, but as I was looking through the changes to the employee handbook,
That's the next item.
That's the next.
is that the next item?
Yeah.
Oh, my comment. Have to read.
All
Well,
right,
all those, we had a motion in a second. So all those in favor say aye.
I don't have a motion.
Oh, we don't have the
No.
motion?
he just had a question before we got to the motion, that's what we're.
I'm sorry.
It's all right, it's all right.
Okay,
Are we doing this all together, each handbook?
No.
we're gonna do all C.
The
C.
recommendations
letter.
for approval.
So, letter C. I guess I need a motion.
Letter C is student, teachers, special education.
Yeah. I need a motion for approval.
I recommend to be approved.
Okay, Mr.
I'll
Cowley,
second it.
second by Mr. Hirsch. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, item D, 23-24 employee handbook, building emergency management handbooks, and transportation handbooks.
So the employee handbook was looked over closely, and language was revised to what is being practiced in those areas that that were approved at last February's meeting for budget reduction, et cetera. New language, all new language is in red, typed, and the obsolete language is stricken out, but maintained so you can see the comparison. Specific list of changes is also provided to ease the reading. There was one thing we are gonna make
For jury.
yes, for jury duty that we're gonna just change, because the jury, we got a couple questions about that language for jury duty. Instead of make arrangements for a substitute, because it makes it sound like the para needs to go and find their own sub, we're gonna say the following procedure, follow the procedure to obtain a substitute. And that's the building principals take care of that.
Are there questions on the employee handbook?
Yeah, I have a couple. So,
You bet.
actually, the first one's the easy one. Regarding the bus driver's handbook, was there changes to this, or did I just? Okay, just want to make sure I didn't miss something. And a lot of that's just driven by the state.
Trans 300.
Yeah. So
That's a good pun. Good.
okay. My next observation, I guess, is regarding the employee handbook. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as I was reading through these changes, the significant ones seem to be kind of in the best interest of the employees. In other words, this is a very, as I interpret this favorably, am I I mean,
I-
for example, let me give you an example. Personal leave from 2 days to 5 days. Okay, so that's gonna look very favorable to the employees. So I think that was worth bringing up unless I'm missing something.
They're issued 2 days per year, but they can bank up to 5, so they can take 5 days.
Sure.
So they can just hang on to them. Before you had to either use the 2 days or
Yeah.
they got moved back into your
Yeah.
sick leave.
So I'm encouraged that we're kind of looking at it from the perspective of how we, improve that employee experience.
And that was a result of a cooperative effort with the Teacher Compensation Committee and the school board.
There you go.
Because that's relatively new, that's within the last.
3 years, 2 years?
I think that was
It
last-
was for the 5th year when it came about in
Last.
February.
Yes, did you have any more?
No, you should go ahead.
The change about leaving the building, it says,
Where you at, Dan?
page 8-9. And the change is leaving your assigned building during work hours is prohibited without administrative approval, except during duty-free lunch period. The standard practice has been all along that you notify the office if you're going to go somewhere, if but it wasn't restricted to just your lunch period. It was also during your prep period. If you had to go to the bank, Poplar Hardware, whatever, just get out of the building to clear your mind for a few minutes, whatever it might be. That's always been kind of standard practice. So the way that, and some people go out and, walk around the building. We encourage people to get exercise. So the way I read this is like, you don't leave the building except for during your lunch. And I just think that that's a step backwards.
Did you say that on 8 or did you say 9?
Well, it says page
Page
8-9.
Have there been issues with why that's changed or?
Well, it was, one issue was, that I heard from before was that you had some people that had left the building during the prep and were walking around town. Now, I don't have a problem if people are walking on the grounds and that, they want to get some exercise and clear their air, and that's just like, but if they're downtown at 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 10 or something like that, it's like, community members, like, why is this person
Is
walking
down
up?
is downtown
what's-
Poplar?
Yeah, downtown.
Well,
You're
yeah.
either in the
okay.
bank or at
Yeah.
Poplar Hardware.
Yeah, I'm it could be Iron River what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So that's something that came up. So it's like, okay, just check. Yeah, I used to get that when I talk about town and dollars too, and everybody considered town to be Manitowoc, because I think it's superior, so yeah, I get it. But that's, so it's just like, okay, just, make sure you're checking in the office where you are, but when you're on a prep, it's like sometimes if you get, if there's something that happens, you need to, a kid needs you or something, you need to be kind of close by to make sure you're able to help them or whatever that's, but like prep time, usually people are working on stuff with school. Now, if somebody has to go run to Poplar on the prep period to grab something for the class, and check on the office with the principal, I don't have an issue with that. But it's the communication piece of checking on the office that I want to make sure that we have. So especially like if somebody leaves the building and they don't check in the office, well then all of a sudden there's a fire drill or something happens, or checking, hey, where's Mr. Johnson at? He's not in his room and we don't know where he is. Yeah, we do. He checked out the office, so he's good. But just things like that. We're just trying to make sure that we're being accountable for our teachers and making sure we're,
And all along we have had that. If you're going to leave the building, let the office know. So that, like I said, I don't know. I guess I don't understand why the wording has to change in here, since that's always been the past practice. And
I guess I just looked at just trying to be crystal clear with people. That's all. I mean, it's just that my intent is not to is not to, restrict teachers or anything. It's just to make sure that we know where they are and just, just kind of clear.
Because there's people like that, coach that have no time after school whatsoever, or they gotta pick up their kids
Yeah.
and they've got no time. I mean, sometimes you just gotta get your stuff done when you gotta get your stuff done.
Yep. I can relate to that.
But to play devil's advocate, just because that's what I like to do. If you get a teacher, I'm not gonna say teacher, staff member, I'll use my own personal experience. If I have an employee that I have contracted from 8 to 5, or in our case, from 7:30 to 3:30, and you have a half hour that I'm not paying you for lunch or 40 minutes or whatever that time is, and you want to run to Quick Trip or Poplar Hardware or to the bank, you can do it all the time that I'm not paying you. But if I'm paying you during this time, I expect you to be where you're getting compensated. At the same time, if you got to go pick your kids up for whatever reason, you can make that phone call. You can do that. My experience is that the people that would abuse this are the same people, this is all assumption, are a lot of times the same people that are going to say, I don't have enough time to get what I need done.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate too, because I'll tell you what, there's not a teacher that doesn't come early or stay late most of the time.
Right.
Put in way more time than what there is. So, I mean, if they want to exchange time at home that they're working on school-related things with time during the day to be able to go do something, I mean, there's that exchange too. Because I tell you what, all my years of teaching, no matter how many times I taught the same class, I always had to do stuff at home. I always had to come early or stay late a good part of the time. So I'm just telling you from a teacher's point of view.
Well, this
Is
is,
there-
go ahead.
Is there, I think it's just the wording here is there any way we can just leave it as leaving your assigned building during work hours is prohibited without letting the office know? I think what's getting blocky here is the administrative approval. So if we take, do we,
And it's during
teachers,
lunch, it says only.
Yeah, I think if we just take out the except during a duty-free lunch break.
yeah,
Because the question I would have is lunch defined from prep? So if my prep is from 11 to 11:30 and my lunch is from 11:30 to 12, does it matter if I go at 11 to the bank because I know it's less busy and then I'm back by 11:30? And I just swap the two? Like, are we?
Well, the only thing that would give me a red flag, I'm a pretty flexible person, but like if teachers usually have their schedule posted on their door, maybe it's online on their webpage, if it says, hey, I'm prep, I got prep from 11 to 11:30, and somebody comes to see them or a student comes up to see them, they're not there, well, it's like, okay, well, they weren't there, they're supposed to be prep and they went for lunch or something like that. That's the only thing, but I'm not trying to, paint about them, I'm just trying to give you a little, that would be the only thing if somebody had a prep blocked them, so.
And you are assigned to a room during your prep, so you
Yeah.
could be anywhere in the building.
I do think if you're leaving campus, you shouldn't let the office know.
Yes.
You
I
should get permission, you're getting
Yeah.
paid, you get permission, lunch is different. But,
So
do the elementary teachers leave it regularly?
I think so. We have times where people have to run, get something for their kids, run the bank, do things like that. The biggest piece is letting us know because we have a situation where a kid gets hurt or a multitude of other things. There's times where we have to evacuate a class or move a class to another spot. We just need to know what's going on because first and second. Most of the time that's during our prep periods, which for lower classroom teachers, those kids are in 6 different periods. So if we have something happen and we need to get back to the classroom, we can't find the teacher, there can just be some struggles if we don't know where people. So it just makes it easier if someone says, hey, I got to run out, administrative assistant knows, I know, and then at least we're in the know. So if it comes over the radio that, we need this so-and-so, then we have the knowledge to act. Or not make the assumption that they're going to get the kids. But they're not there.
I would agree from just an emergency management standpoint, needing to know who's in the building is an important thing.
So really, it's more of a communication. People are just forgetting to tell the office. Like,
Application versus theory are often different. We end up with situations like a moment where we're not able to find people. We page them, we call them on the radio, we don't know where they are, while they stepped out or they're looking for a walk, which, yeah, we're certainly in support of people being healthy, but we need to know.
What's the longest prep time that someone would have?
It's
Block schedule.
So at the elementary, there's about 60 minutes start to end, but you carve off a little bit at the elementary because you have kids transition time in there. So, you know, by the time the teacher gets kids to where they need to be, goes to the bathroom, they're looking at go for it.
And if it's, backed up to your lunch too, then it can end up being like an hour and a half.
That is the
Your lunch, you got a lucky schedule.
Well, I would think that if you're getting permission, principal, you wouldn't go every day for an hour and a half.
I can also add that I speak for the staff at the elementary level. It becomes very hard to be equitable because you have people that play very different roles. And if you have somebody that is going for a walk for 60 minutes because that's their quote unquote prep, that's not equitable across all of our staff. I'm a former special ed teacher. I ate lunch with kids every day because it was something that just had to happen. And it's not accessible for everybody to be able to do the things that others can't do. To elementary schools, it's very hard to keep things between the two. Doing the best, but it's not the same. So it becomes hard.
I kind of agree with Adam that this is, it's paid time and the employer should control the time. Someone has to do something, get permission.
But I'm not saying you need to rule with an iron fist. I don't
Right,
think that's
right.
what it's here. And to say the building, leaving your maybe assigned property, because you do get, I know there are teachers that take off for lunch, and if that goes into the prep and they're walking laps or whatever, this is saying you can't leave the building. Well, you can't leave the property without giving approval. And I would like to think that the three principles that we have are lenient enough to give the flexibility and grace that you're asking for. But I also think it should be written that it doesn't be taken advantage of, because you write rules for the 1% that don't fall.
I think that's where the principal or the superintendent needs to talk to that 1%, rather than have it affect the 99%.
So would you like us to, would you like me to do something or change some of that language, or is that something you want to look at? Or?
It sounds like we should refer it back to the principal, the administrative staff for that portion. Does that sound logical? We could pass everything else except for that.
Okay.
That
And then bring that back in September.
that makes sense?
That one item, because you're gonna wanna be
Yeah.
able to present the whole shebang at
Right.
the start of school.
Right, exactly. So that one item was not changed.
No.
Until
Until
could
we,
be changed.
okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I still had a couple more.
Okay, well, that one item so far.
Number 10 on here, page 10, that one. It has to do with pay periods varying, and this would be Cody's deal. I know it happened a few years ago, and a few years ago the problem was it was written down when your pay periods were, but it wasn't really made clear that so all of a sudden September rolls around and you're expected to get paid every 2 weeks, and all of a sudden they skip a week in there.
Because of the 20s.
Yeah, every
26 pay
4 years or
periods,
something.
pay
It's,
periods,
yeah.
So,
So that was a real, that caused a lot of people some problems because, they're living.
cash flow.
So I guess, when it says in here reasonable time and all that kind of stuff, I guess I'd like to know what that.
So like I said, you're asking a historical question that I don't have a full background on, to be completely honest with you. And Wendy, I don't know if you want to talk to it, because we're talking about 26 versus 27 pay periods.
Right, in my tenure here, I don't believe there was ever a time where we had 3 weeks in between. And if it was, that was when Mr. Lombard would make those decisions and no one here had any say over that. In my tenure here, we have had to go to 27 pay periods rather than 26, but that's our goal. And our goal is in the beginning of the year to let everybody know what's happening the rest of the year. So if there's ever a change, you'll know right away in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I know that one year.
Yeah, like, I obviously wasn't in the role, but it's come up in our office. So the intent where we have those strange years where things have moved up, we very clearly communicate to our staff, because it will, I mean, you're expecting 26 pay periods.
Do you know when that's happening next?
Maybe it's 3 or 4 years out.
Looking at the schedule, it's going to come up within a couple of years, and I just wanted it to be in the handbook so we know. And
Okay.
when it happens, it will be publicized well in advance.
Is there like a pay period calendar that you guys use that is like payday Friday?
You know, it's like every 7 years. It's kind of like every 7 years, the Rose Bowl ends up on a Sunday, and they don't. It's NFL day, so they have to move to January 2nd. I mean, that's exactly what this is like. It's
Yeah,
just
It gets
7
to
years.
the point where people are actually getting paid before they start work. That's when we have to push it back. That's the only reason.
So we talk in our office, our intent is not to, we have been on about doing a 3-week wait time to keep it at 26 and work to do 27, and our recommendations for the 27. Now that will naturally lower everybody's monthly or, bi-weekly, because it's divided by 26 or 27.
Oh, yeah, you'll get lots of calls about whether.
We will get a lot of calls on that. We are gonna try to make sure we telegraph that for everybody, is that, no, you didn't have a reduction in pay, it's instead of divided by 26, and divided by 27. But Wendy hit the nail on the head. We do get just the cycle of things and how school week starts and everything else like that. We want to pay people for actually being here. We don't want to pay somebody who hasn't actually shown up. Potentially, no, that hasn't been an issue, but hypothetically, could it be that somebody has a situation pop up that they never actually worked for us, and we give them a paycheck? It's a possibility. They're seldom, but once every 7 years.
I
But
think it's more than that.
it has happened in the past.
Or not, I mean, less often.
So our goal is not to make it a secret to anybody.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's goal was. I think it just I think all of a sudden it just happened, and it was like, oh.
When those situations come up, we will make sure our staff is well aware that, hey, this year is the year that we'll have this window, unless the board would like to do 3 weeks, which there's no perfect system.
No. Okay, one more thing. All right, on the back, I had of the changes, number 27, though, and again, I'm just revisiting the leave without pay decision. Again, I know it was done to save money, and I'm sure it saved some money, I guess. I had to, there's a couple of other rules in our handbook that have to do with taking your personal day in conjunction with a holiday. So like, let's say it's spring break and you have a wedding to go to or whatever, and you want to come back a day later. Well, you have to take a day without pay. You can't use a personal day on that. So this is, I had to do that a couple times. Or, you got a family of 6 people and you're getting airline tickets, and it's way cheaper to come back on Monday than it is to come back on Saturday or whatever. I mean, we all know what we would do if we had the choice. And again, it's you're using your personal days, taking that day off anyways, whether it's attached or not. So I guess the only thing I would like to see maybe put in there would be instead of immediately, maybe in excess of 2 days. If you take more than 2 days without pay, then you're gonna pay the full amount.
Which paragraph?
Well, I think it's page 27, it's right up at the
Top of
top.
page.
Employees seeking leave without pay, those in excess of 10 days per school year.
That's scratched out.
Who's crossed?
Yeah, in excess of 10 days, I don't know.
Red.
That's scratched out.
Yeah, no, I get that. But now it's like immediately. Like immediately, you're gonna have to pay for full everything. So when you take into account I mean, maybe, but salary wise, maybe it's $350, but if you're taking into account all the others, it's probably double that or close to it. And again, maybe, I guess, I don't know how many times a year, how many days without pay happen in a year. How many different people do that. But, I mean, I'd like to see it where maybe if somebody has that situation where they need to take it with a vacation or something, that they, either that or get rid of that. Can't take it in conjunction with a vacation.
That's what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, can we just,
What does it say that? I guess that's where I'm, the days before.
Let's find personal days, whatever they're.
Well, it's on page 25, I think, is where I'm reading right now.
Okay.
well, maybe it's under.
It's page 25, the second paragraph. It's underlined.
Honorably,
Employees will not be permitted to take 5 consecutive days in the first and the last week of school with students. And then
Yeah, and I'm not
it
even,
also talks about extended leave.
yeah, and let's see, students are present in service days or to extend a school break. Thanksgiving, winter, spring. All I'm saying is those things kind of happen. Like I know last year there was a teacher that, or 2 years ago, that wanted to go to a wedding, and it was around Christmas time, and they needed to extend it, and that they were, denied that, and then they had to take it without pay, and and I think that's, I think that's perfectly okay, but none of it's going to cost you. What you normally, half the way you get paid in 2 weeks.
Or are we like the only district that was not?
From
No,
our,
that's
yeah,
not true. There's a lot of districts that,
so the board has to make the decision on, like, so this is based off of what we talked about when we were going through the cuts back in February, March,
Right.
that time frame of things. If we want to put it to an arbitrary amount of days, 2 days, whatever days you guys want to pick, that's certainly something that we can do. If you want to address the personal leave time, either at the end of or before an extended break, our Thanksgiving, our Christmas, our spring breaks, we can look at that as well. But part of what I know that our administrative team is probably talking about right now, one of the worries that we have is making sure that we have the staffs to operate. Because I get it, people go on vacations when we have vacation time. But the reality is that if we get 9 requests, 10 requests to take the Friday before, spring break off, then we're getting into a scramble mode of how do we.
right, and I think the leave without pay kind of, you got people from
Doing something.
doing that too much, right?
And we
Even
even if, short answer is we want our staff in our
Yeah.
in our buildings teaching our kids. That's the reality. And is it 6 more than half dozen the other? Potentially, yes. It's up to you folks as to what you want to do with it. But that's the ripples on the pond if we open up the personal leave before or after an extended break. We will get into a situation where we're gonna have to probably make some calls and say, you get to take it, and you get to take it, but sorry, we can't cover you because we don't have subs. And that's, as long as the board's aware of that, we're gonna make some of those tough decisions. We've typically gone, Peggy, correct me if I'm wrong, based on when leave was turned in.
And to tell you the truth, we've gone down to the last 5 seconds of submitted leaves, where we've had to actually look it up and deny one person and approve another, and have that person come back and say, I already have plane tickets, before they ever got approved from our office. It also says in the handbook that for personal leave, we only get 3 instructional staff members that can take personal leave on 1 day. Because just some days were just between 6 and 8 teachers gone, we just couldn't cover the classes.
I mean, you could change wording to say, and I'm not saying I'm in favor of it, but I would say that you could say that in most cases, personal leave will, let's see here. The students are present in service days or to extend a school break, i.e. Thanksgiving break, winter break, spring break, isn't allowed. You could easily say something like, we'll allow up to 1 staff member per building or something like that to do that. But at the same time, if somebody's gonna save $1,000 on airline tickets coming home Monday, and it costs them $200 to pay sick without leave, you're still saving $800.
Yeah, and if that's what's happened though, it's, they don't just take your salary now.
Oh, no, I don't say,
So if
that's-
we're
I guess
talking,
that's
you know, instead of $300, we're talking probably $600. And I get that,
No, it's not that extreme.
not that extreme.
It's not that extreme. So is it, it depends on which plan you're taking. Obviously, a family plan is gonna be more expensive than a single plan, but you're at that $100-ish, $150-ish range roughly.
So if you take a day, what's it cost?
Last year was like $152 for somebody with a family plan.
That was the fringe portion,
That's the health
fringe
and-
portion?
that's health and dental insurance.
but not wage, because wage.
Wage is gonna be based off of obviously
Right, okay.
years of experience and what you have in this game. Again,
Like I said, the purpose of that, and I wasn't here when you did it, was to save money. And again, I mean, you're gonna save $150.
Well, I think it was twofold. It was A, to save money, but B, to make sure you got able to staff the schools.
what I would suggest and for a recommendation, if we're looking to change the leave policy, is it before or after a break? We gotta limit it to, I would assume what we have always 3 people.
3 people.
District-wide.
District-wide, you know, if I'm taking a leave December 10th, because I have to go somewhere. then For consistency purposes, in my opinion, that's what I would say.
Or you could put it under the discretion of the district administrator.
But I think you might be able to help with this. We've always worked with people on if it's kind of a lifetime event.
Absolutely.
I think the district administrator can get money
True.
because you like somebody more than somebody else.
That's right. Well, it's,
No, I mean,
you know,
I'm just saying.
perceptions, I mean, that's.
There was-
that's-
Perception.
Try not to have that perception, but,
It's a fine line to walk because, like I said, the vacation times are important. I get that. I don't know if people want to go. What we have to look at from our perspective too is we still have the district. I would guesstimate that if we changed it, just open it up, we'd have 10 leave requests before or after break. And then we'll-
Yeah, you know, and that's really not what I was, you know, I guess I was just, if you take any, right now, if you take any day without leave without pay, it's gonna cost you quite a bit more than it did before. And I'm, you know, I'm saying if you could say after 2 days without pay or after 1 day without pay, you're paying full amount.
And I don't know, Peggy, procedurally, do we have to put that out as a? Do we need to take a vote on that? Do we vote on the whole entire table that and come back?
No, you, if you certainly want to, because that's changing content here, I would suggest that you take a vote on that specifically, and we come up with the language right now. As a matter of fact, because this is a handbook and we have the start of school coming up, I actually was leaving the building during the school work day. I kind of was working on that paragraph a little bit, because rather than having to bring that back to the board, I would just as soon settle it all today, if you'd be so kind, because we would like to distribute it to our staff. So once we're done with this, let's come back to that. Maybe we can get them both in one shot.
So we're looking for a motion on these items. to see if
We are.
yea or nay.
We are.
I
And you
think
can also get a consensus.
we
And
made
then
this
vote.
decision earlier, it wasn't exactly the same board, and I think we should stick with it, refer it, and keep the admin team to review it at your admin meetings for now. It's one of the decisions that we made among a bunch of decisions, and I don't know if we want to keep going back on a lot of, that's my opinion.
How many unpaid days were there last year? You remember that?
Many,
Yeah, that's what,
Many.
that's.
but I will say that the most of them were, people that didn't have benefits. A lot of them were people that did not.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's what I would like to know is like, how many of them were choices and how many of them were.
Well, I will say the general rule of thumb on part-time employees use a lot of their days.
Does it penalize somebody if they have benefits then?
Yeah.
For that aspect of things, it doesn't, if they don't have benefits, obviously that's not the penalty. for them.
But if they did have, if a paraeducator had benefits and they burned up all their personal time, their sick time, and they still took another day, it's going out of their check. And so it's, it's just.
There's not delineation between employee groups or roles.
The other question is, if for employees seeking leave without pay, is that still approved through administration?
Yes.
Yes.
So you guys would still have, rein on who's got a day without pay?
So I recommend we leave it the same, leave it how, as it is written. Have the admin team put on their agenda and discuss it.
Can you make that change maybe for next year? Is that what you're recommending?
Unless you feel it, because we don't have all the data and information here. I don't think.
Right now, we estimated that, that's what Brad had showed me there, that roughly was $13,000 without pay days last year.
But that was
Reimbursed
everybody, right? That was support staff.
That was a delineation between any employee groups or any role. Again, there can be fluctuation in the number. We might have half the people take leave without pay days this year.
Well, and then the bus drivers fill out time slips, so if you would include, that isn't including them, because they fill out time slips, so it's really not lined into those. Correct, or is it figured out? Because of the leave forms.
So I could, if the board wants, we can get the exact number. We can kind of break it down by group. We're looking for that data, just let me know. Might be a different number this week.
Should we take a consensus, perhaps?
On this, on the whole thing, or just on this?
No,
We're
just
talking
on,
about this
just
item.
on this item.
I recommend we leave it as it is. That's my opinion.
On the leave without pay? You understand? I would also agree with that.
I would second.
But this is a fluid document. It can be changed. Refer it to the, as is, or refer to the admin team for further discussion.
So we have 3 for leaving it the same.
I leave it the same.
I'd like to change it.
I will also vote to leave it the same, but would like further information so it can be looked at in the future. See what the potential impact is from an equity standpoint.
Thank you.
And I'd be open to limiting it. I mean, we never really discussed that part of it. It's never brought up, but we can not leave it open-ended for staff and give them even one.
That's all I'm asking.
What are your thoughts on if somebody were to say, I'm not speaking for anybody here, we would allow up to 3 people per day to be able to extend any of those breaks, giving you the ability to take the day off and still have to pay for the day off. Instead of saying, you want to extend your break. Right now it's saying you can't do that.
No, you can. You just have to take a day without pay.
Yeah, you can extend it with the
You
day
can
without
extend your
pay.
break. Yeah, it's gotta be approved too. Yeah, everything's gotta be approved. Your personal days have to be approved.
And if there's
And
no
that's not a
subs,
guarantee either,
then,
just so
right.
you know.
Right.
Well, no, the way this is written right now, employees will not be permitted to take 5 consecutive days on the first or last week of school of students. In most cases, personal leave should not be requested and will not be approved on the first or last day of school when students are present, in service days, or to extend the break. So right now it says you
But that's
can't do that.
personal leave, that's
Personal
not leave
days.
without pay.
You can take leave without pay.
You need to go back to 27. I believe that's the page that we was up there.
That's why I say this, send it back to you at the end. If we have questions, talk to Mr. Warren or Chris.
So what you're saying, Mr. President, leave it alone, we leave it alone, and allow administration to come back and say they want to leave it be, or they're willing to say,
Yeah.
we're willing to do X, and we could make that amendment next month, which would allow anybody who wants to do that the ability to do it before the breaks. what you're saying.
That's what they,
But if they come back and say, no bueno,
that's no point.
You know, or just a day without pay for some people, like if they don't have any personal days and they, you know, have something come up and they need to take a day off, that's, you know, it's not looking at somebody to take a week off.
I get that. Yeah. Well, that Mr. Hirsch said, I mean, the changes for a lot of favorite employees.
Well, not to mention, it was brought forth by the administration. And
Right.
This handbook was proposed to us by the administration as their recommendation, and so I'm gonna stick with that.
Mr. Brown, if we could go back to page 9, please.
Okay,
Everybody go back to page 9.
And we never change anything.
page 9.
Strike that last sentence and just.
So if we went, so we're talking about leaving the building during the school day, the red part. So if we change it to make it sound, say, leaving school grounds should be approved by,
During the.
okay, sorry. Leaving school grounds should be approved by, no, accept, approved, where are we going? Accept?
Leaving, that's right. I wrote.
how long you been working together?
Going down the line here. No,
You're gonna go.
We need to
Leaving
work on
school,
penmanship.
leaving school grounds during work hours should be approved by the building principal, except during a duty-free lunch.
There you go.
I mean, you should just tell your principal, you know, she can do whatever.
Does it have to be the principal or can it just be people in the office?
Yeah, we,
I don't think the people in the office are gonna wanna make that call.
It usually has been let, the
Yeah.
principal's not always around.
right, and they, yeah, there's an
People in
understanding.
the office
Yeah.
are there consistently. I want to say they run the building, but they're there
They,
consistently.
they do.
How about
Oh,
by
so
the
you follow
building
the chain of
principal
command.
or designee?
there you go.
Yeah,
How's that?
There you go.
yes.
And then please inform the office if you decide to leave the building on the street.
Yeah, do we still want them to inform the office even if they go on their lunch? That's,
It says except during your duty-free lunch.
No, we still want to inform the office.
We still want
Please
Okay.
inform the office if you decide to leave the building very much.
Designate.
And can that just be a phone call too? Because I'm thinking of NES teachers that are at the very end of the building and the office is in the opposite direction.
I think that's
Can
notification.
they just?
So instead of
call?
being approved, we say to notify the building principal?
notify.
Yeah, that sounds
I'm okay with that. Notify the building principal or designee.
We are.
But if you want to say the other one, I
And then the
think
principal should give permission.
Yeah.
Say, yeah, okay.
That's just, it's
if there was
They wouldn't say it.
if there was a situation where they had, several staff out already and they were already thinly staffed,
Right, yeah, they
would
would.
there be a day that they would say, you know what, we really can't have you go run your errand today?
Yeah, I think they,
Maybe approval?
this is during their paid time.
yeah, even
Mark,
leaving
you have
school
something?
grounds during work hours should be approved by the building principal or designee, except during a duty-free lunch. And then I'll just, notify the office. How's that?
Mark, Mr. Carlson?
The general rule we've done is if someone needs to run an errand, they will call the office. And that's kind of been my expectation. If you need to leave, please let us know so we know where you're at. So if something happens, we know you're out of the building. High school's a little bit different than the other buildings. When you are on your prep, you don't have any responsibilities for kids. If we have an emergency, typically it's the teachers who have kids in the room, like fire truck, as well with the teachers and kids at the time. 9 times out of 10, if I'm in the office, Cheryl will come back and say, so-and-so, you run an errand, is that okay? Can I go ahead? So not in the office, at least notify the office so that we know where they're at. To me, that's the important issue. that we know they're not here, in case it's, that's.
And at the middle school, particularly in prep periods, really advocate for strong prep periods and time periods to get that work done session. They are coaches, and do have responsibilities after work, so we advocate very strongly to hold on to those prep times and time periods. Those are really crucial. That's when a lot of meetings happen. Team planning is all about meeting kids' needs and what has to happen. But at the middle school, we also really, our teachers cover classes during that time, so they have a prep, and they're able, we have to cover classes so that we don't, because we don't have subs. So that's just something else to think about. And then maybe one other thing, just for the board to consider too, is that if people are working and contracted and being paid and there is an accident, who's liable for that? That's another thing the board should just be mindful of. And that's why from the administration point, we're not trying to keep anybody from running errands or doing what they need to do, but we also look at it from a very logistical and fiscal responsibilities.
Does it happen a lot? Do a lot of people leave?
It's not like we have, they're catching
Where do you
the
go?
315 bus or the 215 bus going out there. I mean, it just once in a while it happens.
Yeah, I mean, and
There's a couple.
that's why I think we're just trying to.
Okay, Mr. Janico, do you have satisfactory
Yeah, I think we satisfied
Worded.
everybody's,
words? Okay,
so the intent didn't come off so hard.
I guess,
Mr. Cowley, you still have the floor.
Oh.
As for items, you have another item?
No.
Okay. Any other items?
I guess before you go on, I just wanna say to the board, I appreciate everything the ladies in the office and Cody and the admin team for really working hard, because these are really good handbooks. They're gone through with a fine tooth comb, but I really appreciate this discussion, because I think sometimes this discussion needs to happen, and we need to hash some things out. So I appreciate just the professionalism and just going through the question list a little bit and just talking it out. And, I mean, that's how you work as a team. And I just want to thank everybody for doing that. It's really good.
Thank everybody. I did have one question on the evacuation site at Iron River, the Catholic Church. Is that open and unlocked during the day?
Correct. Yeah.
It is, okay.
So we go, when we practice, we do it a couple times a year for different purposes. We can go down there. A lot of times we can do this down there, especially so the kids know who's gonna be there.
It's not just that they leave it open because they know you're coming.
I believe it's open during the day.
That's something you may want to check on. I've never seen it. I realize that. Some of those pastors have, aren't allowed for the day. He's gonna want that. What was the one item that we were gonna,
We just fixed
is
that.
that the one we
Just fixed
fixed? So we have all,
We are looking for,
we're looking for motion for that, approval for that item D. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve the.
employee handbook.
It's item D, it's the employee handbook, building emergency management and the transportation.
All right, I make a motion to approve the 23-24 employee handbook, building emergency management handbooks, and transportation handbooks.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
In a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item E, 23-24, 66.30 agreement with Northwood School District in Minot, Wisconsin for a part-time occupational therapist.
Yep, as you could see in your packet, we hired Ashley Nelson to provide part-time services to the district 2 days per week for a total of 70 days per school year. Northwood has requested Mrs. Nelson for services at 1 day per week for a total of 36 days per school year. To note, a contracted school district employee cannot be under a contract with more than one school district as per Wisconsin statutes. Therefore, we provide a 66.30 agreement. Our district will pay Mrs. Nelson $400 per day, and Northwood School District will pay her $600 per day. We're looking for a motion to approve this.
You know, she did work for us before.
That's true.
What, is she through CISA or she?
Nope.
She just is.
We have a full-time occupational therapist too,
We do.
do we not?
Oh, no, we do, we shared it with South Shore.
Correct. So she,
One day a week.
Ashley was with us 2 days per week
Yeah.
last year, and then Steph Ryan was with us 4 days per week last year, and then she goes to South Shore 1 day per week. So.
Is that still the case for this
Yes,
school
so
year?
it'll be the same setup that we had last year.
Yeah, that got approved like in May, I think.
Yeah, well,
Just
that's,
the Northwood piece is new for Ashley.
So we will, I'll entertain a motion to approve this item.
I'd like to ask a question first. Can you speak to her demand, or I guess if she's here a couple days a week, how busy is she?
Well, that's why we brought her back on. Previously, we had an OT, staff was here 3 full days a week, and then we had a 4-day, or full-time, I can't remember, CODA, so an occupational therapy assistant, that resigned halfway through last year. So then we onboarded Ashley, who had worked for us previously, 2 days a week, we brought Steph back 1 day. Yeah, they're busy. So this year we'll be sharing, the nice thing is that Ashley's a certified occupational therapist, so she'll be able to have her own caseload. So those two will work together. Share.
Knowing her, I'm sure she does a great job.
Oh, yeah, they're both excellent.
So I will entertain a motion to approve this agreement with Northwood School District.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-24 66.30 agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bonner.
Sir Peggy, I have one more comment on this.
Graduated Northwood.
Hope we got this.
And I'm assuming that this page is to replace this page
Correct.
that said South Shore. Got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you saw, there was
And if you see a little page on, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, so since it's money, we'll take a roll call vote.
Thank you.
Mrs. Burnett,
Yes.
Mr. Cowley,
Yes.
Mr. Blunt,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. Hurst. I vote yes. Motion, passed. Next one, Chippewa Valley Bank, borrowing $253,210 for propane buses for 2024. Mr. Fetchcotter.
Yeah, as your board packet indicates, we needed to secure 2 buses this year because 2 of our buses failed inspection due to excessive rust. I've talked to our previous board on kind of our transportation hurdles that we have coming up. So part of what I'm doing is following our procurement policy to try to get basically 3 options. So we have the 3 options available to you in front of you there. We have the state trust fund loan, which is a state-run organization. We've used them in the past, and the interest rate there. And then Chippewa Valley provided a rate for a 5-year fixed loan, and then also Security State Bank provided a rate for a 5-year fixed loan. So we need to procure this money basically to offset the cost of those buses that weren't necessarily in the budget at this point in time. So all things are fairly equal. It's a fixed rate loan. If all goes right, we'll try to pay it off early, but right now it's a 5-year note.
I'm 5-year loan.
Yep. In terms of that, so I need the board to.
To be clear, the 2 buses have been tagged with a sticker that they're no longer consumable.
Correct. They will be sold as most likely parts buses here in the upcoming future. They're still on our lot, they're still our buses, but they cannot legally go down the road from the school bus standpoint. So
The new buses be here.
the new buses are actually here.
They're ready to go.
Right out front.
You have to get the kids to school.
That's what it boils down to. This was close to an emergent day. In a perfect world, what I'll do in the future is when we have a game plan here, which we're working on, is next come to you with, here's our options for purchasing. The reality was that we found out that our buses failed, and ironically, the company that we called us and got them from told us that the district backed out of 2, which did potentially purchase them. They did knock some money off of it, which we're thankful for. We'll also get $3,000 rebates per bus the propane, Wisconsin Educational Propane Council. I might be wrong on that, but I just found that out too, which is great. But the company knew that we were kind of looking at potentially getting buses, and basically said, "You got first crack at this, but I got about 3 or 4 other districts that'd be interested if you're not up." So this is when Buster was still transportation director. What I didn't know is what our state budget was going to be at that point in time. So it was essentially that was an emergency purchase.
Mr. Landry, your question?
What is it going to take to, the last sentence, I'm not sure I want to read it. What is it gonna take to do that if you go with somebody outside of the lowest rate?
It'll be a little bit of setup. I mean, can we handle it? Yeah, we're looking at doing an annual payment, not necessarily a monthly payment of a car or anything along those lines. It'll be an annual payment for this specific loan. So, is there some work? Yes, but that's another factor to consider. Is that we have established bank relationship with security, and that's just easier, literally, to transfer from our account to their account essentially.
This is Chippewa Valley.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
Well,
referring
that's-
to. I guess the way I always operate is give me your best the first time, and they did. That's my thing.
So can it be done through Chippewa Valley? Absolutely, we'll figure that out. So I need some guidance from the board as to which direction we want to go. And in the
You
future-
said it is only a 5-year loan?
That's what I'm looking at right now, yeah. It's about our buses, service life on a bus is about 5 years.
Do you know
Or
the
excuse me,
annual-
10 years, sorry, 10 years,
Yeah.
not 5, so.
Do you know what the annual payments are for both people?
In terms of the differences in rates?
Yeah.
It's minimal, $200, $300. So annual payments right now, based on, we're looking at roughly $60,000 a year, roughly.
Are you gonna have $200 or $300 in cost setting it up with Chippewa Valley?
Not that I can see.
Got paper for saving $200 or $300, in my opinion. Make a motion to approve it with Chippewa Valley.
Is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion?
Second then?
Dan, Mr. Kelly.
Dan.
Okay, sorry. If no other discussion, then, call the question. Mr. Hirsch?
I'll ask another question.
You sure are.
Can I ask it to Wendy? What's your don't care factor?
I don't care.
Yes.
Second. Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Olson? Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passed. Policies. First reading, Community Service Fund 80. One at a time. I got this together, but second reading, number 5340, student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest.
So in the first one, I just want to see, I'll let Cody elaborate a little bit, but Fund 80 would allow us to provide expenditures for programs such as middle school extracurricular programs. A lot of schools run their middle school programs through Fund 80, but I'll let Cody kind of elaborate anymore.
Yeah, so Fund 80 is that we have not established it. The first reading is now, because to be honest with you, we'd like to look to establish it. We do that at our annual meeting coming up at the end of September. What Fund 80 is going to allow us to basically take our middle school extracurricular activities, which are open to all students in the community, and what I mean by that is even our homeschool students can participate in those programs. And that would be part of the requirement. It's always been that way, but this allows us to take some of that cost out of Fund 10 and put it into Fund 80. Most districts do try to do it that way with their middle school extracurriculars. And it allows us to keep middle school extracurriculars in place. Now, I say extracurriculars on purpose. I'm not talking just athletics. I'm talking the other pieces of the puzzle there too, in terms of that. So it's not necessarily a budgetary cut. It allows us to take that Fund 10 cost, then move it over into Fund 80. That'll be part of the tax levy, but we're not looking at a significant amount of money. Roughly, I project right now, and all an actual number, roughly $40,000 to fund those. What I would say, and I think most of us agree, in the admin team, we all agree, I think, that it's important to allow our middle school students to have access to those activities.
So are we talking about like the ones that are already coaches are paid for by our district?
So, yeah, essentially,
Talking about-
it'd be coach salaries,
Okay.
the advisor salaries,
Yep.
transportation costs, officials for those games, those types of things.
So if somebody wanted to change how a season works or add something, when would you have to?
When we'd have to do that,
Yeah.
if you're looking at, if I think what you're saying is you're looking at adding a sport under our umbrella,
Not necessarily adding, but adding to what we do to it.
so we'd have to know that, because what I need to do is, we'll levy for Fund 80. And I've worked with Mr. Smith and transportation to kind of basically say, okay, what trips do we have on the docket? What games do we have? What's our rough official cost? All that stuff we kind of know. And we put together a, basic plan. Now, if there's a chance that we have an added basketball game or an added track meet for whatever reason, not common, I guess we'd have to look at funding that out of Fund 10, because once we set that levy, I can't adjust it mid-year. It's kind of here's what
Well, you need
funding.
to know for the budget hearing this year.
Yes.
All that has to be done before.
Yep.
For
So
this year and next year, yeah.
correct, yeah, so basically we would like to, I'm proposing to, again, it's the board decision, but we'll walk through that and more information will come to you in the next meeting. This is just the first reading of what Fund 80 is, but really it's a funding stream that allows us to keep those extracurricular activities and move out of Fund 10, which we continue to do.
And this was if I recall, this is what we had talked about at the retreat, I think, where we can levy above for this, right?
Yes.
And I thought you were gonna check on what I'll qualify for that.
I will tell you as the businessman or what, we need to, it is middle school extracurricular activity.
We already have stuff that qualifies for it.
Yes.
Some money, yeah.
Yeah, the big costs are gonna be, like I talked about, coaches, salaries, officials, transportation costs would be the things that would supplement that. So,
And it doesn't include football, and it only includes
football's not under our umbrella.
no transportation to the basketball, or
Transportation.
referees. Well, they do have referees now.
Yeah, we have officials that do have a
They
cost.
don't do HVAC.
Obviously, if the middle school track team is going down to Chautauqua for a meet, we're paying our bus driver,
Right.
we're running the bus down the road.
Wrestling is, 3 weeks. It isn't.
So it's not it's not gonna be a large number, like I said, but that's, the first reading is there for you to look at, in the event that kind of put the ducks in the row on hopefully doing this, get your approval.
Is that something that can get altered annually?
Yes.
It can.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the first reading for that, so we're not deciding that. And the second one is, Mr. Warren.
5340, student accident, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest. We're looking, second reading is what is available. We're looking for a motion to approve that.
Make a motion to approve the 5340 policy review.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of policy 5340, the student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, we're to item 6, administrative report. Communication received, Mr. Warren.
Yeah, we received notification from the Wisconsin RTI Center, that's the Wisconsin Response to Intervention, and the Department of Public Instruction recognizing Northwestern Middle School and Northwestern Elementary School for their efforts in implementing an equitable multi-level support system of supports. The middle school received a silver award for reading and a bronze award for behavior, and the elementary school received a silver award for both reading and math, and for an award for behavior, which we don't know the level for the behavior yet. So at this time, But congratulations to Ms. Craig and Mr. Larrabee for their and the staffs at both those buildings for their efforts in implementing this. It's great when you get recognized by UPI and RPI.
It is. Thank you very much. Round of applause. All the staff working together. Great.
Can I ask a question on that?
You bet.
What's historical, is this the first time we've ever received these awards? Do we get them every year, or? Do we
I don't know if we get them every year,
platinum,
but
and this year we got
So at
bronze?
the elementary level, we got the first recognition 2 years ago as bronze, and then we were to receive it again. So 2021, we got 22, now 22, 23, we made it to silver. Yep.
So I think that's, like I said, it doesn't happen every day or every year, but when you see improvement, you know, it's nice to see.
Now, budget hearing, the annual meeting format, September 25th, 2023, at 7 p.m., Mr. Moore?
Yes, the budget hearing will begin at 7 p.m. in the boardroom with the annual meeting to follow on Monday, September 25th. Information is being compiled at this time, including the 2023-24 budget booklet, which will outline the educational plan for the district, as well as the projected expenditures and revenue budgets. An information booklet will be available at the annual meeting with the complete audit from 22-23 figures. Enclosed with board packets are the legal postings and the ground rules.
Who's exactly got to be there? Was it? Clerk,
Clerk and
president,
treasurer. And president.
Okay.
And I would encourage everyone all the board members to attend, because, you know, people get questions, and it's nice to know what the questions are.
Well, and the community. I don't
Community,
think
that's
the
what
community knows entirely that this is their opportunity to speak and vote.
Correct.
So.
We'll just try to make sure we publicize that, promote that on our social media pages.
Okay, maintenance update, Mr. Petrichotter?
You have the maintenance report in your packet. I do just want to give some recognition to our custodial staff. If you haven't been in our buildings, they're starting to shine. We're not all the way there yet, but we're on track to obviously have everything wrapped up and have our buildings ready to go here by open house day. So they've been hard at it all summer here, getting that going. The other FYI I want to give the board is the middle school roofing project is slated to start and end next week, assuming everything goes to plan. So I'm sure Ms. Craig is very happy to potentially get the shoring out of the middle of the hallway, which I know I am too. Construction always takes longer than what we had hoped, but we're slated to get that started, and it's about a 1 week project as long as everything goes to plan. So be in and out hopefully before we have any real traffic in our buildings.
Who's in there?
Jamal.
Mr. President. Yeah, this might have been talked about last month if it was. How did summer school go?
It went really well, yes. I usually report out after all the numbers are in, it's actually still, it goes on until the open house.
Right.
That's still counted, so once I have those final numbers and all that, but yes, it went really well, and I mean this genuinely and sincerely, I just cannot thank the teachers who essentially dedicate their summers to providing a space and an experience for children. We're with them from 8 to 4. I say that space the size of your living room. And they do some amazing, awesome things with them and take them on little adventures outside. And we just, our community, it's a pretty awesome thing that those teachers do that. So I thank them for doing that. But I'll have final reports and numbers and things due when it's over in August.
Thank
End
you.
of August.
The Tiger Den's going great too. I stopped in there weekly, and then they told me I gotta bring my bike on Wednesday.
Okay, CISA 12 report. CISA 12 report, Mr. Glonick? Or what is, yeah. Oh, the WASB correspondence and legislative update, Mr. Cole.
That's okay. Gosh, if you would have skipped me, you would have missed this great news.
We would've come back. riveting.
It's riveting, I'm sure.
It is riveting because every single one of you can now volunteer to be a bus driver.
I saw that.
So Governor Evers signed Assembly Bill 233 into law as 2023 Wisconsin Act 26, allowing school board members to serve as volunteer school bus drivers.
Let me know if you want to sign up.
State Senator Patrick Teston from Stevens Point and Representative Chance Green are circulating a bill draft to their legislator colleagues that will repeal the statutory restriction on low spending districts not being able to utilize the increase in the low revenue ceiling to $11,000 per pupil if they have a failed operational referendum in the past 3 years. Lawmakers had until Wednesday to sign on to support the bill. And Governor Tony Evers announced that he had signed Assembly Bill 321 related to updating early literacy instruction into law as 2023 Act 20. His announcement regarding this is that the bill relating to literacy, drafted in coordination with DPI, makes several comprehensive updates to literacy instruction in the state designed to help improve reading and literacy outcomes for K-12 students. The 23-25 biennial budget includes $50 million in the Joint Committee on Finance's supplemental appropriation for efforts to improve reading and literacy outcomes for K-12 students. More specifics are outlined under the bill. Interested in learning?
And then the fall Region 1 meeting.
At the Fall Regional 1 meeting, Wednesday, October 18th. Best Western Hotel Shaquamagon in Ashland. Please let Peggy know if you plan on attending.
And there's a meeting in the evening, and then prior to that meeting, there's a training session, workshop, right? That are usually very good to attend. Please let Mrs. Janigo know way prior to the date. Do you have a deadline, Mrs. Janigo, for that?
Not yet, we have till usually a week beforehand.
It's October 18th, so it's what. Okay, now we'll get to the CISA 12 report, Mr. Gladys.
We have not had a meeting in July. Our next in-person meeting is tomorrow. There's a look at the new building. I think it's from 4 to 6 at open house there. And then we have a meeting at the Hotel Shaquamagon. I will not be at the meeting because I have football practice.
Did they sell the old building?
They did.
We get our money?
Short answer is yes.
Good.
Yeah, they did sell.
They didn't give us a check, they just took it off what we.
Previous meeting. Well,
Yeah.
we'll look forward to next month's report,
I will get it.
regardless of your absence. Thank you. Mr. Donations, Mr. Moore?
No donations this time.
Okay. Student, staff, and community recognition.
Nothing for that as well.
Well, I'm glad that people are with their families. Okay, comments from the audience. The comments, this is my speech here, the comments from the public. Agenda item is not the forum for school district or Maple personnel issues, concerns. The public needs to refrain from the use of names or specific positions when used in a negative manner. If you have concerns that involve personnel or staff members, please contact the building principal or the superintendent, but we do welcome comments from the audience. And state what town you're from, village. We have none? Okay, then consideration for an executive session is necessary for those items exempted under open sessions according to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, parent E. Included under these items is a staffing and fringe benefit discussion for 2023 and 2024. So we need a motion, a second, and a roll call vote to go to closed session. Entertain a motion to go to closed session.
I'll make a motion to move to closed session.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Roll call vote. Ms. Burnett?
Yep.
Mr. Cowley?
Yes.
Mr. Vronick?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Lambert? You. Mr.
Yes.
Okay. And then we need a motion to adjourn this meeting. We have a motion second. Was there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn open session.
Mr. Landwehr, motion to adjourn open session. Mr. Hirsch, how's his head? Does that count?
Sure.
You were looking right at me.
Notify me. I wasn't fired. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the open session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank everyone.